Hello! And welcome to the next episode of Mykaela's Corner. It's so good to have you guys here. Welcome. Happy Sunday. For those of you watching at a different date, happy whatever day it is for you then. I hope you guys are doing well. Can you believe that we're already done with September and now we're into October? Woo! Where is the time going? How is school going for you guys? Now they've got like almost a whole month under your belt. Are you guys doing well? Hanging in there? I hope you're having a great time. Well, let's get into it. We are going to be going through a series for the month of October. So we have 4 Sundays in October. And we're going to do a series called Heroes of the Faith. And this week, guys, we're starting off with a huge one. We're talking about David and Goliath. Now, almost everyone, even if you don't go to church, know about the story of David and Goliath, but we're going to talk about it today. And we're going to talk about the amazing thing that God did with someone who was just a boy. Some of you kids who are watching, you might be boys, but it's not just about a boy, it's about doing the impossible. That's the key thing in the story. And before I get carried away like usual, we'll hold off and I'll talk about it when we get to our story. But guys, we're going to do that. And for those of you who might know already what David uses to defeat Goliath, but if you don't, he uses a slingshot. Now, we don't use slingshots a lot nowadays, so some of you might not even know what a slingshot is. But for our craft, I'm going to teach you how to make one with stuff that you can probably find in your house. So, guys, fun day ahead. Let's get started. Welcome to Bible Time. Guys, today I had mentioned earlier that we are going to be talking about our very first hero of the faith. And today we're talking about David versus Goliath. Now, here's the thing. David is the good guy in our story. Goliath is the bad guy. And I have a couple guys to represent them. For Goliath, we have the Thing from the Fantastic Four. He was the biggest action figure I could find. And then we've got here is King Saul, and he's represented by this Batman with a cape. And the cape is going to represent his armor in the story. And then this guy down here, I don't know who he is. He's got a red dot in his forehead and his eyes are red. If you know who he is, let me know in the comments. But we've got this guy to represent David because he's the smallest action figure I could find. Okay, so we've got these guys here, and here's how the story starts. We've got these two armies ready to face each other. We have the Philistines, boo, the bad people. And we got the Israelites, God's people. And they're on these two hills, and in the middle is a valley. And so they're kind of standing off, and nobody's made a move yet, but they're getting ready to fight. But here's the thing. They have a certain soldier named Goliath. And he was 9 feet tall. 9 feet tall. Can you imagine that? Now, I looked up what's like 9 feet tall, because most people are only like 6.5 feet tall, and that's really tall. Some people are taller than that, and he was considered a giant. Now, I found animals that were 9 feet tall, and what I could find was an ostrich. Now, have you ever seen an ostrich? They don't look that big, but they are tall, especially when they stretch their necks out really high. That's about 9 feet tall, and that's how tall Goliath was. Now, here's the thing. David in this story is just a young boy. So he's not like a baby, but he's probably like, nowadays we would just call him like a teenager. He's probably like, I don't know, 13, 14. And he comes into the scene, and we've got the Israelites on one side and Goliath and his army of Philistines on the other side. And David's brothers were part of the Israelite army. And so he comes and to visit them and to bring them some food. And when David came, he could hear Goliath on the other side yelling mean things about God and God's people. And he kept saying things like, "Come and fight me. And if you win, we'll serve you. But if I win, you have to serve us." Now, King Saul and his men were all terrified of him, because who was going to go, one person, who was going to go and like fight against this giant man, this giant beast of a man, Goliath? Nobody wanted to do it, and they were all afraid. So when David came and he heard Goliath saying all those things, it made him upset. And he was thinking, guys, Why are we letting him talk like that? David knew that God was stronger than this giant Goliath. David couldn't understand why no one was standing up to him. Yes, he was a giant, but David knew that God was bigger than Goliath. And God can do anything and use anybody, and he can create miracles and do wonderful things. And they were still afraid of Goliath, and he just couldn't understand why. So, what do you think David did? Do you think he, after delivering the food to his brothers and was like, hey guys, I see Goliath over there and he's crazy huge, good luck, and headed home? No, he went up to King Saul and said, why is no one fighting him? I'll do it. I'll do it? King Saul looked at him and said, what? You want to fight that giant? You want to fight Goliath? What? You're just a boy. You can't do that. But David, he answered King Saul by saying, when I was a boy, I was taking care of my sheep. In order to take care of my sheep, I had to kill a lion and a bear. Okay, 1, whoa, awesome. 2, scary. And 3, amazing. Like, God helped him not only take care of his sheep, but he helped him defeat a lion and a bear. Now I'm starting to think, David knows what God can do. He's seen it firsthand and had to experience how God took care of him and his sheep. He's thinking, God can do the same for this army and for me. So Saul was like, okay, you know what, we'll give it a try. And so Saul took off his armor and he gave it to David. Now remember, Saul's like the king of Israel at the time, and he's probably like a big guy, obviously not as big as Goliath, but still like a tall man. And this boy, this teenage boy, is like, I'll do it. And so he's like, here's my armor. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, his armor on a younger guy, not gonna fit. So you got this tall king and you've got this small teenage boy, and David put on the armor, and once he had the armor on, he was like, yeah, nah, this isn't gonna work for me. He couldn't move in it. There was just too much going on, and he's not used to it. So 1, he wasn't used to wearing armor, so it's kind of like clunky and holding him back. And then 2, it didn't fit. David was like, no armor. I'm gonna go just as I am. And so he took off the armor and just wore his regular clothes. And Saul said, go and the Lord be with you. Now, here's where it gets interesting. David only had a sling. Now, a sling is something that you hold, and it's usually like a stick or made out of sticks, and it's kind of like a Y, so it's got like this Y shape, and then it has like one stick at the end that you hold. But it's the stick thing, and then you have like a rope in it, and then you pull it back, and you let go, and it shoots it. Or another way I've seen it is it's like a strap, and you swirl it like this, and then you let go of one of the strings and it shoots the rock really far. Either way, it's something that he can like spin around or pull back, and it shoots rocks. Now, that's how he defeated the lion, and that's how he defeated the bear. So he's like, that's how I'm gonna defeat Goliath. And so he went and he found some smooth stones, and he grabbed 5 of them. So he took his 5 stones and his sling, and then he went to face Goliath. Now here's the thing. When David showed up to face Goliath, Goliath took one look at David and got mad. He was like, who do you think I am? You send this boy? Send me your strongest guy. Come on, let's make this a fair fight. He was so confident and like, I'm so tough. This will be the easiest fight in the world. Give me a challenge. He was getting cocky. I mean, looking at David, no armor. I bet Goliath was head to toe in armor, ready to go. No sword. I bet Goliath had a huge sword. I mean, 9 feet tall. You've got to have like a bigger sword than most people. Probably special made, which that's kind of cool. Not the point. He's the bad guy. But he had this sword. David didn't have a sword. He had a shield. David didn't have a shield. He's like, come on, guys. This is going to be so easy. I got this. And as the giant was getting closer to David, David ran toward him. Can you imagine? He was so brave. He wasn't hesitant. He just ran towards him. And David put a stone inside his sling, and he pulled it back and let go. Here's the cool part. In one single shot, he used 1 stone, and it hit Goliath right in the head. And it was so powerful and so strong, it killed him. And he defeated Goliath. God used one stone and one young boy to kill a giant that was covered in armor, head to toe in armor. He had a sword, he had a shield. It doesn't matter. God can do the impossible. All we have to do is be willing to do it. And with that, David saved the day. As soon as the Israelites, I mean, you gotta believe everybody was standing on those hillsides watching. You know, the Israelites are like, oh, come on, David, fingers crossed, please, God, please. And the other guys are probably like, we got this in the bag. And then as soon as they saw that, I bet the Israelites ran down after the Philistines, and the Philistines were like, "Wah!" and like ran out of there, which is what happened. And as soon as the Israelites started chasing them, off they went. And they were able to defeat the Philistines because David trusted God. All those people were God's people. The Israelites were God's people. They knew all the stories, but they didn't have enough faith like David did to believe that God could do the impossible. And the God that helped David is the God that helps you and me do all the things that seem impossible or seem really hard or are also good. God is also in all the good stuff too, but he's right there to help us in the hard times. We just have to remember that he's there. The Israelites had forgotten and they were so scared. Sometimes fear can take over and we forget that God is still there, ready to help us. But David was really good at remembering that God can do anything and that he'd be there for us. So, I have a bit of an object lesson here. I have this bottle, but then I have this balloon that's not blown up. So, do you guys think that there's any way that I could blow up this balloon using just this bottle? Now, if you just look at this bottle and you look at this balloon, is there a way that I could inflate this balloon without blowing into it? Maybe I could squeeze it. Yeah, that kind of works, but then as soon as I let go, it goes right back down. But when we trust God and believe in him, the impossible can happen. Look at that! It's working! Amazing, right? It seemed like it would be an impossible task, but if we just believe, nothing is impossible with God. And with that, we're going to move into our craft time now, and we're going to make a sling. Now, it's not going to be a sling like David that we are going to use to like hunt down people with. No, this is just a fun one, but I will show you how to make it. And so let's get into it. Welcome to craft time. Today we are going to be making a slingshot from our story today. This is what it's going to look like in the end, and you're going to be able to pull this rubber band back and shoot things with it. So we'll get to that at the end, but first we got to make it. So I'm going to set my slingshot to the side and show you guys how to make it using a piece of paper, some rubber bands, some scissors, and some tape. Now, if you don't have a rubber band, this is the thing that I had to actually go pick up from the store. If you don't have a rubber band, you can try using a hair tie if you have it, or basically just something that's stretchy. When you pull it, it stretches, but it won't rip through the paper. So here we go. How we start is we're going to need just one rubber band. So I'm going to take that out and set the rest to the side. And I'm going to set my tape to the side for now, and my scissors, because first, and my rubber band. First things first is we are going to roll up our paper. So I'm going to do it long ways like this and then roll it up. So you're going to fold it like this. So you don't need a lot. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just enough to fold over. This is going to be the shape and the body of our, like how thick we want our slingshot to be. And then you just fold it again. And you fold it again. And you fold it again. And you keep going until we get kind of close to the top. You want it to be nice and thick so when we bend it in half, it doesn't like rip. And then I'm going to go to about here. And I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut in about, can you see that? This much. Do you see that? So I didn't go all the way in. I just cut a little bit here. And I'm going to do it also on this side. Like that. So now I've got my little cut here on both ends. 1 and 2. Now what we're going to do is you're going to take your rubber band and you're going to put it on one side where the cut is. and you're gonna slide it in like this. And then you're going to hold this with your fingers. I'm gonna pinch right where the rubber band is because sometimes I'm gonna pull it to the other side, and if I just let it go, it might rip the paper. And it does rip it a little bit, but don't be afraid, just go nice and slow. So I'm gonna pinch where the rubber band is on both sides, and I'm gonna stretch it and get it to go inside that next crease. Now it's gonna pinch my paper a little bit, and that's okay. I'm gonna set it down flat, and I'm gonna roll my paper over it. And so now we've got the rubber band on the other side. Boop, boop. So now we've got our two cuts. You put the rubber band in, and then you fold it one more time. And now I'm gonna cut off the extra paper because we wanna use this paper to create our like stones from the story, the things that we're gonna shoot with our slingshot. Boop, boop, boop. And then I'm gonna fold it over one last time and put tape on it. This is where the tape comes in. It's gonna hold our slingshot together from getting unraveled. And I'm going to tape up the whole way. That way it can't get, oop, a little bit of tape went over, that's okay. Just make sure you don't tape the rubber band down on accident. And one more piece here, and I think one more little piece. And we're golden. Okay, so now we've got this long piece of paper basically with a rubber band. So it kind of looks like this. Ooh, did you hear that? It's a nice snap to it. And now that it's taped, oops, it makes it harder for the rubber band to pull itself together. So this is good. Now we're gonna take this whole thing and fold it in half. Like this. And now the rubber band is gonna be like more loose up at the top. You can see that there. So we took the long stick and we folded it in half. Now you're gonna take each side and fold it to meet the middle here. So basically we're gonna fold this piece in half. I'm gonna take one side and fold it in half. This is where you're gonna have to pinch really hard because it's thick, because we curled up our paper so much. And then take this side and also fold it in half. This is helping to create our Y at the top. See how this is like loose like that? This is how we're gonna create that. So then I'm gonna pinch it together nice and tight, and then I'm gonna let it go a little bit. And where this part is where the curve is, that's the part that you're gonna hold. And then this part becomes the Y, and this is where we use our sling. So now we've got our sling ready. We'll set that there. We don't need the tape anymore, but we do need the scissors. And now how to create little things that we're gonna shoot. I'm gonna make them out of paper. Like this. And then each one you're going to do basically the same thing of folding up our paper. You're going to fold a little bit down like this, and then just fold, 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 and curl it all up so that you get something that looks like this in the end, a tiny little one. And then you're just going to fold it right in half. Boom, boom, boom. So now you've got like this little triangle thing. I guess it's more like a V, a little V. And whoop, I'm gonna show you close up, and then I'll show you, we'll zoom out and we'll practice some target hitting. So right where the rubber band is here, you're gonna take your V and you're gonna curl it under the rubber band. So that kind of pulls. You're gonna pinch it, and then you're gonna pull it. But you want to make sure that the part you're pulling is the two pieces together. So you pinch it, and then you just let go. You pull it. Woo! Just shot across my room. So now we're going to zoom out, and I can show you exactly how far these things can go and how to make a fun game out of it. Okay, so now I'm ready to show you how to use my slingshot. I've got my slingshot ready to go. I've got my pieces ready to go. And I've got a board with targets on it. I just taped some rubber bands to that to see if I can even get anywhere near it. Not sure if I will, but here we go. I'm gonna take my slingshot, make sure it focuses. There we go. I'm gonna put my piece of paper in there. And then I'm gonna pinch it, hold this nice and tight. Oh, okay, it went way over the top. Let's try again. Oh, it got stuck. No. Oh, that was closer. Did you guys see that? Is my hand in the way? Okay, one more. Oh. Okay, well, obviously I'm bad with aim, but I bet with more practice I would get really good at this. So I hope you guys have fun. I hope you get really good at slingshot. You can set up little action figures, or you can cut out little pieces of paper and set them up on a table and try to knock them over. But you can make a game out of it and see who can be the best slingshotter in the house. And with that, I hope you guys had fun, but it is time to wrap up our day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I hope you learned a lot. I hope that you guys know and remember as you go out this week that the same God who helped David defeat Goliath is the same God that loves and helps you, and he helps me. So as you go out this week, look for those moments where you can ask God to help you do the impossible. God is right there to help you do the hard things. So I hope you guys have a great week, and you come back next week ready to hear about our next hero of the faith. With that, I hope you guys know that I love you and I miss you. For those of you at Lakeside, I hope you're doing well. I can't wait to see you again in person someday, hopefully soon. And for those of you who are joining us not from our church, thank you so much for joining us as usual. It's so great having you. It's great having anybody who can join. And with that, I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye!